Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the alien fleet move closer to Earth. The ships were huge and dark against the stars. For 3 years he had trusted these aliens. For 3 years he had believed they were friends. Now he knew the truth. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Confederation. They had come to Earth with promises. They said they would protect humanity. They said they would share their technology. They said humans could join their great alliance of species across the galaxy. It had all been lies. Lisa Carter sat in her command chair on the space station above Earth. She was an admiral now. The aliens had helped her get that rank. They had praised her skills. They had said humans were natural leaders. Now she understood why. They wanted humans to trust them completely. The message came through on all frequencies. The alien commander spoke in perfect English. His voice was calm and cold. Your species has served its purpose. Give us your world or we will take it by force. Lisa felt her blood turn to ice. 3 years of friendship. 3 years of working together. 3 years of believing in a better future. All of it had been a trap. Ryan Parker was on the Luna defense platform when the alien ships turned their weapons toward Earth. He had worked beside these aliens for months. He had shared meals with them. He had learned their language. Some of them had seemed almost human in their humor and kindness. Now those same ships were pointing massive guns at his home world. Ryan watched the weapon ports open on ships he had helped repair. He had given them fuel. He had shown them the weak points in their armor so they could fix them. Now he realized he had been helping them prepare for this moment. Helen Brooks was in her lab under the city of Geneva when the attack began. She was a scientist who studied alien life. The Confederation had given her so much to study. They had shared their biology. They had explained their technology. They had answered every question she asked. Too late she understood that she had been the one being studied. Every question she asked told them about human curiosity. Every test she ran showed them how humans thought. Every conversation revealed human weaknesses and strengths. They had been gathering intelligence while pretending to be teachers. The first bombs fell on New York. The explosions lit up the night sky like deadly fireworks. Jake watched from space as the city where he was born disappeared under alien fire. The buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled in seconds. Millions of people died in the first hour. The aliens had studied human military tactics for 3 years. They knew exactly where to strike. They hit the command centers first. They destroyed the communication hubs. They took out the power grids. In 6 hours, they had crippled Earth's ability to fight back, but they had made one mistake. They thought humans would break like every other species they had conquered. They thought fear would make humans surrender. They did not understand that some species fight harder when they are cornered. Amy Rodriguez was in the underground tunnels beneath Los Angeles when the attack started. She was a colonel in the Earth Defense Force. The aliens had trained with her unit. They had seen human soldiers in action. They thought they knew everything about human warfare. What they did not know was that humans had been preparing for betrayal since the day the aliens arrived. Not officially, not openly, but in secret meetings and quiet conversations, some humans had planned for this day. They had hidden weapons and supplies. They had mapped escape routes. They had prepared safe houses. Nick Thompson was piloting a supply ship when the invasion began. He saw the alien fleet drop out of hyperspace. He saw them surround Earth. He saw the first shots fired. Instead of running, he turned his ship toward the planet. If Earth was under attack, that was where he needed to be. The alien ships were faster than human vessels. Their weapons were more powerful. Their shields were stronger. But Nick knew something they did not. He knew that humans had been secretly studying captured alien technology for 2 years. Not all of their gifts had been freely given. Some had been taken. Patricia Williams was the engineer who had been reverse engineering alien systems. She worked in a hidden facility in the Rocky Mountains. The aliens thought she was just maintaining their equipment. They did not know she was learning how to build copies. They did not know she was finding weaknesses. When the attack started, Patricia activated systems the aliens did not know existed. Hidden defensive platforms came online. Secret weapon caches unlocked. Backup communication networks started broadcasting. Earth was more prepared than it appeared. The aliens had conquered 47 species before humans. Each time the pattern was the same. They would arrive as friends. They would gain trust. They would study their targets. Then they would strike without warning. It had always worked, but humans were different. Humans had a history of being betrayed. They had learned from centuries of war and conflict. They knew that trust was valuable, but verification was essential. Some humans had never stopped watching the aliens for signs of deception. Alex Foster was one of those humans. He was a young officer who had volunteered to work closely with the Alien Cultural Exchange Program. On the surface, he was enthusiastic and helpful. Secretly, he was gathering intelligence. He had been reporting to a shadow organization within Earth's government. When the attack came, Alex was on one of the alien ships. He activated a virus that Helen Brooks had created. The virus was designed to look like a system update. It spread through the alien computer networks like wildfire. For 30 minutes, the alien fleet lost communication with each other. That 30 minutes saved millions of lives. Earth's hidden defenses came online. Emergency evacuation protocols activated. Military units that the aliens thought they had destroyed emerged from underground bunkers. The war that the aliens expected to last hours would last years. Kevin Hayes was a general who had never trusted the aliens completely. He had kept secret facilities running in the asteroid belt. When Earth was attacked, these facilities became the core of human resistance. The aliens had focused on Earth. They had ignored the small mining stations and research outposts scattered throughout the solar system. Those outposts became military bases. The mining ships became warships. The research stations became intelligence centers. Humanity had been scattered across the solar system for decades. Now that scattered presence became their greatest strength. Maria Santos commanded a ship called the Retribution. When the invasion started, she was on patrol near Jupiter. Instead of rushing back to Earth, she followed her secret orders. She began attacking alien supply lines. The aliens had brought enough ships to conquer Earth, but they had not brought enough supplies for a long war. As Earth's cities burned, something unexpected happened. Instead of surrendering, humans got angry. Instead of giving up, they got creative. Instead of accepting defeat, they started planning victory. The aliens had won the first battle, but they had awakened something they did not understand. The human spirit could not be conquered by force. It could only be strengthened by adversity. The aliens were about to learn what happened when you betrayed the most stubborn species in the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the aliens attacked Earth. The alien ships still filled the skies above every major city. Their soldiers walked the streets with weapons that could kill a human with one shot. Their flags flew over government buildings that had once belonged to humanity. But the aliens were learning something they had not expected. Humans were still fighting. Amy Rodriguez crawled through a tunnel that had once carried trains under the city of Chicago. Now it carried something more important. It carried hope. The tunnel connected to a network of passages that stretched under half the continent. The aliens controlled the surface, but they had never learned about the vast underground world that humans had, built over centuries. The resistance had grown, from a few hundred survivors to thousands of fighters. Every day, more humans joined the underground war. They came from burned cities and destroyed military bases. They came with anger in their hearts and determination in their souls. The aliens had given them a choice between surrender and death. Humans had chosen a third option. They chose to make the aliens regret their betrayal. Nick Thompson guided his stealth shuttle through the ruins of what had once been Denver. The alien patrols could not see his ship because Patricia Williams had modified it with captured alien technology. The aliens had superior science, but humans had superior creativity. Every piece of alien equipment that broke down was studied and improved. Nick carried supplies to resistance cells scattered across the wasteland. Medical equipment for the wounded, weapons for the fighters, food for the hungry, information for the planners. Most importantly, he carried proof that humans still existed as a free people. Every successful supply run told the galaxy that Earth had not surrendered. The aliens had made their biggest mistake when they assumed humans would fight like other species they had conquered. Other species had clear command structures that could be destroyed. Other species had central governments that could be captured. Other species had armies that could be defeated in open battle. Humans were different. When their government fell, humans created new governments in hidden bunkers. When their armies were destroyed, humans became guerrilla fighters. When their command structure was broken, humans learned to operate without orders. Every human became a soldier. Every building became a fortress. Every street became a battlefield. Patricia Williams worked in a secret laboratory buried deep under the Rocky Mountains. The facility had been built during an old war between human nations. Now it served a new purpose in the war against alien invaders. Patricia led a team of engineers who turned alien technology against its creators. They had learned to copy alien computers. They had figured out alien power sources. They had cracked alien communication codes. Most importantly, they had found ways to make alien weapons fire at alien targets. The technology that was supposed to ensure human defeat was becoming the key to human victory. Alex Foster had been captured during the first week of the invasion. The aliens thought he was just another human prisoner. They did not know he was a spy who had been trained to resist interrogation. They did not know he carried a memory implant that could not be detected by their scanners. While the aliens questioned him about human military secrets, Alex was actually learning about alien weaknesses. He memorized their guard routines. He studied their equipment. He mapped their facilities. When he finally escaped, he carried intelligence that would save thousands of human lives. The breakout came when Alex activated a second virus that Helen Brooks had hidden in his implant. This virus was different from the first one. It did not attack alien computers directly. Instead, it made alien sensors report false information. For 6 hours, the aliens could not tell the difference between real threats and imaginary ones. During those 6 hours, resistance fighters struck everywhere at once. They rescued prisoners from alien camps. They captured alien supply depots. They destroyed alien communication centers. Most importantly, they proved that humans could coordinate large operations without the aliens detecting them. Helen Brooks had become more than a scientist. She had become a weapon designer. Her laboratory in the underground complex was where the most dangerous tools of human resistance were created. She had learned to make viruses that could cripple alien technology. She had developed poisons that could kill alien soldiers. She had created sensors that could detect alien movements from miles away. But her greatest creation was something the aliens never saw coming. Helen had been studying alien biology for 3 years before the invasion. She knew how their immune systems worked. She knew what chemicals could harm them. She knew their weaknesses better than they knew themselves. The biological weapon she created was not designed to kill aliens. It was designed to make them sick. Sick aliens made mistakes. Sick aliens moved slowly. Sick aliens had trouble thinking clearly. When Helen released her creation into the air systems of alien facilities, the invaders found themselves fighting a war while battling constant illness. Kevin Hayes commanded what remained of the official Earth military from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. The base had been disguised as a mining station for 20 years. The aliens had scanned it dozens of times and found nothing suspicious. They did not know that the mining equipment could be converted into weapons in less than an hour. From his secret base, Kevin coordinated resistance activities across the solar system. He sent orders to fighters on Earth through communication networks the aliens could not detect. He supplied weapons to resistance cells using transport ships disguised as space debris. He planned operations that struck alien targets when they least expected attack. The aliens had brought enough force to conquer Earth in a quick war. They had not brought enough supplies for a long conflict. Every month that passed made them weaker while making humans stronger. Their equipment broke down without replacement parts. Their soldiers grew tired without proper rest. Their commanders made poor decisions without accurate information. Maria Santos still commanded the Retribution from her hidden base near Saturn. Her ship had been joined by dozens of other vessels that had escaped the initial attack. The alien fleet was powerful, but it was designed for large battles against enemy fleets. It was not designed to hunt small groups of raiders, who struck without warning and disappeared. Into the darkness of space, Maria's raiders attacked alien supply convoys traveling between the outer worlds and Earth. They captured alien cargo ships and sent the supplies to resistance fighters. They rescued human prisoners being transported to alien slave worlds. They spread word throughout the galaxy that humanity was still fighting. Other conquered species began to hear about the human resistance. For the first time in centuries, slaves on alien worlds learned that it was possible to fight back against the Confederation. Revolts began on distant planets. The galaxy's most powerful empire found itself fighting fires on a dozen worlds because one species refused to accept defeat. The aliens realized they had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something they could not control. They had turned a peaceful species into dedicated warriors. They had created an enemy that grew stronger with every defeat and more, determined with every setback. The humans were no longer just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for every species that had ever been betrayed by false promises of friendship. 2 years had passed since the invasion began, and the aliens were starting to understand they had made a serious error. What they thought would be a quick conquest had become a grinding war that consumed their resources and weakened their empire. Every day brought new attacks from human resistance fighters. Every night brought sabotage and raids that kept alien forces awake and afraid. Steve Davis crouched in the ruins of what had once been Times Square in New York City. The Alien Command Center rose from the rubble like a metal mountain. For 18 months, the aliens had used this facility to coordinate their occupation of North America. Tonight that would end. Steve carried a communication device that connected him to resistance cells across the continent. The plan was simple but dangerous. Every cell would attack at exactly the same moment. The aliens would have to choose between defending their command centers or protecting their supply lines. They could not do both. Rachel Murphy sat in front of a computer terminal in a bunker 3 miles underground. She had been a software engineer before the war. Now she was humanity's most dangerous weapon against alien technology. For months she had been preparing for this moment. Tonight she would unleash the most sophisticated cyber attack in human history. The virus Helen Brooks had created 2 years ago had been improved dozens of times. Rachel had turned it from a simple disruption tool into a weapon that could cripple entire alien fleets. But this virus was different. It would not just shut down alien computers. It would make them work for humans instead. At exactly midnight, Rachel pressed the activation key. Across the galaxy, alien computer systems began to receive what appeared to be routine software updates. The updates installed quickly and quietly. Most alien technicians never noticed anything unusual. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. The virus spread through the alien communication network like wildfire. Command centers lost contact with their fleets. Weapon systems locked onto alien targets instead of human ones. Navigation computers began directing alien ships to the wrong destinations. For 6 hours, the most advanced military force in the galaxy was blind, confused, and helpless. Lisa Carter watched from the rebuilt Luna command station as the alien fleet above Earth suddenly went silent. Ship after ship stopped responding to orders from the surface. Some began firing at each other. Others simply drifted in space like dead metal hulks. The moment humanity had been waiting for had finally arrived. Lisa activated the emergency broadcast system that Kevin Hayes had been building for 2 years. Hidden transmitters across the solar system came online. Secret weapon caches unlocked their doors. Military units that had been hiding in underground bunkers emerged into the sunlight for the first time since the invasion began. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior coordination. While alien commanders struggled to understand what was happening to their computers, human forces struck with perfect timing. Every attack had been planned months in advance. Every target had been chosen for maximum effect. Steve Davis led his team through the alien command center, while the defenders were still trying to figure out why their weapons would not fire. The humans moved quickly and efficiently. They had practiced this attack hundreds of times in virtual reality simulations. They knew exactly where to plant their explosives for maximum damage. The alien commander tried to call for reinforcements, but his communication system was sending his messages to human resistance fighters instead of alien forces. The backup power systems activated automatically, but they had been reprogrammed to shut down life support in alien areas while keeping human prisoners safe. Tony Garcia commanded a ship called the Vengeance from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. When the virus activated, Tony led a fleet of captured alien vessels against the alien motherships orbiting Earth. The aliens had thought their ships were secure because only alien DNA could activate the control systems. They had not considered that human scientists had learned to synthesize alien genetic material. Tony and his crew were genetically human, but the ship computers recognized them as alien commanders. The Vengeance and her sister ships moved through the alien fleet like wolves among sheep. The battle above Earth lasted only 4 hours. 3 alien motherships were destroyed before their crews could regain control of their systems. 2 more were captured intact with all their technology and crew. The remaining alien ships retreated to the outer solar system where they tried desperately to purge the human virus from their computers. Beth Newman led the ground assault on the alien armory complex in what had once been Washington, D.C. The facility contained enough weapons and ammunition to supply the alien occupation force for years. More importantly, it contained the manufacturing equipment needed to produce alien technology. The aliens had built their armory underground to protect it from human air attacks. They had not considered that humans had been experts at underground warfare for centuries. Beth's team entered through maintenance tunnels that the aliens did not know existed. They moved through the complex like ghosts, disabling guards and capturing key positions. When the main assault began, the alien defenders found themselves surrounded by enemies who knew the facility better than they did. The humans had been mapping the complex for months using captured alien sensors. They knew every corridor, every weak point, every hiding place. Jack Sullivan was part of the team that captured the first intact alien battleship. The USS Defiant had been humanity's most advanced warship before the invasion. Now it was just scrap metal orbiting a dead world. But the alien ship Dominator was about to become humanity's newest weapon. The Dominator's crew had been overcome by Helen Brooks' biological weapon. They were alive but too sick to fight effectively. Jack and his boarding party moved through the ship systematically, securing each section and capturing alien technology that humanity had never seen before. Within days, human engineers were learning to operate alien hyperdrives, alien weapons, and alien shields. The technology that had made the aliens seem invincible was now serving human purposes. Every captured ship made humanity stronger while making the aliens weaker. The war's turning point came when human forces broadcast from the captured alien command center. The message went out on all frequencies to every world in the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez stood before the alien communication equipment and spoke, words that would echo across the stars. She told the galaxy that humanity was not just fighting for Earth, they were fighting for every species that had been conquered through lies and betrayal. They were fighting for every world that had been stripped of its resources. They were fighting for every people who had been enslaved by false promises of friendship. The message reached alien worlds where other conquered species lived as slaves. It reached the homeworlds of Confederation members who were beginning to question their government's methods. It reached neutral species who had been considering joining the Confederation. For the first time in galactic history, a conquered species had fought back successfully against the Confederation. More importantly, they had proven that the alien empire was not invincible. The galaxy's most powerful government was losing a war to a species that had been betrayed and attacked without warning. The Confederation faced a choice. They could send more fleets to crush humanity completely, or they could try to negotiate a peace treaty. Either way, they would never again be seen as the invincible rulers of the galaxy. Humanity had shattered that illusion forever. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Earth Defense Fleet flagship and looked at the star map that showed human forces spread across a dozen solar systems. 3 years ago, he had been defending Earth from alien attack. Now he was leading humanity's first offensive strike into alien territory. The hunters had become the hunted. The operation was called Starburst, and it would prove to the galaxy that humans were no longer victims. Jake commanded a fleet of hybrid ships that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. The ships were faster than anything the aliens had built, and more heavily armed than anything humans had previously imagined. The target was Kepler Prime, a mining world where the aliens had enslaved thousands of beings from dozens of different species. Intelligence reports said the planet was lightly defended because the Confederation never expected anyone to attack their territory. They were about to learn that assumptions could be fatal. Lindsay Clark piloted the USS Freedom through hyperspace toward the target system. Her ship was one of 50 vessels in the strike force. Each ship carried a crew that had trained for months in alien technology. Each crew member knew that they were not just fighting for humanity anymore. They were fighting for every species that had suffered under Confederation rule. The Freedom dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system and immediately began scanning for enemy ships. The aliens had only a small patrol fleet protecting the mining world. They had grown lazy after centuries of being the galaxy's dominant power. No one had ever attacked a Confederation world before. That was about to change. Helen Brooks had spent months preparing biological weapons specifically designed for this mission. The weapons were not intended to kill alien defenders. They were designed to disable alien equipment while leaving other species unharmed. The liberation of Kepler Prime would prove that humans could wage war without becoming monsters. The attack began at dawn on the mining world's largest continent. Human ships descended through the atmosphere like falling stars. Alien defense platforms tried to activate, but their computer systems had been infected with updated versions of Rachel Murphy's virus. The weapons that should have protected the planet instead began targeting alien facilities. Patricia Williams led the technical team that disabled the planet's communication array. The aliens could not call for help if they could not send messages. More importantly, they could not coordinate their defenses if their commanders could not talk to each other. Within an hour, the planet was completely cut off from the rest of the Confederation. The alien garrison on Kepler Prime consisted of only a few thousand soldiers. They had been stationed there to oversee the slave workers, not to fight a real war. When human dropships landed near the main mining complex, the alien defenders found themselves facing an enemy they had never encountered before. Humans fought differently than other species the aliens had conquered. Other species tried to minimize casualties and preserve infrastructure. Humans were willing to destroy everything if necessary to achieve victory. They moved fast, hit hard, and showed no mercy to anyone who had participated in enslaving innocent beings. Steve Davis led the assault on the main administrative center where the alien governors lived in luxury while their slaves worked themselves to death in the mines below. The building was supposed to be impregnable, but human engineers had studied its design using captured Confederation construction databases. They knew exactly where the weak points were located. They knew which walls could be breached with shaped charges. They knew which systems would fail if the right components were damaged. The alien fortress fell in less than 2 hours because humans had done their homework. The slaves on Kepler Prime came from 17 different species. Some had been there for generations. Others had arrived only recently. All of them had given up hope of ever seeing freedom again. When human soldiers broke down the doors of their prison barracks, many slaves thought they were hallucinating. Amy Rodriguez coordinated the liberation effort with representatives from each enslaved species. The humans had brought translation equipment and medical supplies. They had prepared food that could be safely eaten by non-human digestive systems. They had studied the cultural needs of different species so they could provide appropriate care. But most importantly, the humans offered something the slaves had never expected to see again. They offered revenge against their captors. The alien administrators and guards were given a choice. They could surrender and be treated as prisoners of war, or they could fight and be destroyed. Most chose surrender when they realized that human weapons could penetrate their personal shields and human tactics could outmaneuver their defensive positions. The few aliens who chose to fight discovered that humans had learned new ways to wage war. Human soldiers used captured alien equipment with deadly efficiency. They coordinated their attacks using communication methods the aliens could not intercept. They struck from directions the aliens thought were impossible to attack from. Greg Taylor led a special operations team to the planet's central computer core. The facility contained detailed records of every Confederation mining operation in this sector of the galaxy. More importantly, it contained the locations of other slave worlds and the schedules of cargo ships carrying enslaved beings to new planets. Greg's team downloaded everything they could find and then planted charges that would destroy the facility after they escaped. The explosion would eliminate the Confederation's ability to coordinate slave operations while giving human intelligence officers enough information to plan a dozen more. Liberation missions, the battle for Kepler Prime, lasted only 18 hours. The human fleet captured or destroyed every alien ship in the system. The ground forces freed over 40,000 slaves and captured enough alien equipment to outfit several new human military units. Most importantly, they proved that Confederation worlds could be conquered by determined attackers. Word of the victory spread through underground networks across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, enslaved beings began to believe that freedom was possible. Some began planning revolts against their captors. Others started sending secret messages to human forces, begging for liberation. The Confederation government faced a crisis unlike anything in their history. For the first time ever, their own territory was under attack. Their subjects were rebelling. Their military was losing battles against an enemy that should have been crushed years ago. Lisa Carter received reports from intelligence agents throughout Confederation space. The alien empire was beginning to fracture. Some member species were questioning whether they wanted to continue supporting a government that could not protect them. Others were secretly negotiating with human representatives about switching sides. Jake Morrison realized that humanity had reached a turning point in the war. They were no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to reshape the entire galaxy. Every victory brought more allies to their cause. Every liberated world became a base for future operations. The aliens had created this situation by betraying Earth. Now, they would have to live with the consequences. Humanity was no longer content to defend their own world. They had become the galaxy's liberators. And they would not stop until every enslaved being was free, and every tyrant was brought to justice. The stars themselves were learning to fear the species that turned betrayal into a crusade for galactic freedom. 5 years had passed since the aliens first betrayed Earth, and now Lisa Carter stood in the same council chambers where humanity had once been deceived. But everything was different now. The alien flags had been replaced with banners representing dozens of free species. The throne where the Confederation High Council had ruled the galaxy for centuries was empty, and would remain that way forever. Lisa wore the uniform of the Terran Coalition, an alliance that had grown from humanity's desperate resistance into the galaxy's new hope for justice and freedom. Representatives from 43 different species sat in the chamber where decisions affecting trillions of beings would be made through discussion and voting rather than fear and force. The war was over, but the work of building a better galaxy was just beginning. Jake Morrison commanded the Coalition fleet from his flagship orbiting the former Confederation capital world. His ships carried crews from dozens of species who had learned to work together during the long war against their common oppressor. The fleet's mission was no longer conquest, but protection of the new democratic government that was slowly taking shape. The former Confederation military had been disbanded, but many of their ships had been converted for peaceful purposes. Warships became exploration vessels. Troop transports became refugee ships carrying displaced beings back to their homeworlds. Weapons factories were converted to produce medical equipment and construction tools. Some alien species had fought against humanity until the very end. Others had switched sides as soon as they realized the Confederation was losing. A few had secretly supported the human cause from the beginning. Now all of them had to learn to live together as equals in a galaxy where no single species held absolute power. Helen Brooks had become the Coalition's Director of Interspecies Relations, responsible for ensuring that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. Her office was in a building that had once housed the Confederation's Department of Conquest and Exploitation. Now it was dedicated to cooperation and mutual support between different civilizations. Helen had developed protocols that required complete transparency in all technological and cultural exchanges. Every species that joined the Coalition had to agree to share their scientific knowledge freely. More importantly, they had to prove that they respected the rights of other species to govern themselves according to their own values and traditions. The healing process was slow and sometimes difficult. Some species had been enemies for thousands of years before the Confederation conquered them both. Others had cultural differences that seemed impossible to bridge. But humanity had learned something during their war of liberation that they shared with all their new allies. Unity did not require uniformity. Different species could work together without becoming identical. Strength came from diversity, not from forcing everyone to think and act the same way. Patricia Williams led the technology-sharing program that was transforming life throughout the galaxy. The advanced science that had once been hoarded by the Confederation elite was now available to any species that needed it. Medical knowledge that could save millions of lives was freely distributed. Agricultural techniques that could end hunger were taught to anyone who wanted to learn. But the most important technology being shared was something uniquely human. It was the idea that government should serve the people rather than the other way around. Species across the galaxy were learning about democracy, individual rights, and the rule of law. Some alien cultures found these concepts difficult to understand at first. They had lived under authoritarian rule for so long that they could not imagine any other way of organizing society. Human advisors worked patiently with these species, explaining how free societies could be both stable and prosperous. Greg Taylor had established the Coalition Academy on Luna, where military officers from across the galaxy learned the tactical and strategic principles that had brought down the Confederation. But they also learned something more important than warfare: They learned the human concept of military service as protection, of civilian government rather than domination over it. The Academy's motto was carved in stone above its main entrance in the languages of every coalition member species. It read, "Never again," and served as a permanent reminder of what happened when military power was used to oppress rather than protect innocent beings. Ryan Parker commanded the Coalition's exploration fleet, which was mapping regions of the galaxy that had been forbidden to most species during the Confederation era. They discovered worlds rich in resources that could improve life for billions of beings. They found ancient ruins that revealed the history of civilizations destroyed by previous galactic empires. Most importantly, they located species that had hidden from the Confederation for centuries. These isolated peoples were invited to join the Coalition as equals, with full protection for their independence and cultural traditions. The galaxy was larger and more diverse than anyone had imagined. The remnants of the old Confederation government had finally surrendered after their core worlds were surrounded by Coalition fleets. Their leaders were tried for crimes against sapient beings in courts that followed human concepts of justice. Some were imprisoned. Others were exiled to remote worlds where they could live peacefully but could never again threaten innocent people. The surrender terms had been written by a committee that included representatives from every species that had suffered under Confederation rule. The aliens who had once controlled the galaxy were required to pay compensation to their former victims. Their military technology was dismantled under Coalition supervision. Their government was replaced with a democratic system modeled on human principles. Steve Davis became the first human ambassador to the former Confederation core worlds. His job was to help the alien species learn to govern themselves according to Coalition principles. It was difficult work because many aliens had never experienced freedom and did not know how to use it responsibly. But slowly, carefully, the former oppressors were learning to become productive members of galactic society. Their advanced technology was put to peaceful uses. Their industrial capacity was used to build hospitals and schools instead of weapons and prisons. Their scientists worked on projects that benefited all species rather than just their own. Amy Rodriguez established the Galactic Liberation Memorial on Earth, where the names of every being who had died fighting for freedom were carved in imperishable stone. Visitors from across the galaxy came to honor those who had sacrificed their lives so that others could live free. The memorial's central inscription told the story of humanity's journey from betrayed victims to galactic liberators. It explained how the Confederation's betrayal had backfired by awakening humanity's greatest strength: the absolute refusal to accept injustice no matter how powerful the oppressor might seem. Lisa Carter often visited the memorial when she needed to remember why the Coalition existed. The galaxy was at peace for the first time in centuries, but maintaining that peace required constant vigilance. Freedom was not a destination, but a journey that every generation had to make for itself. As she looked up at the stars from Earth's surface, Lisa knew that humanity had given the galaxy something precious. They had proven that betrayal could be overcome, that tyranny could be defeated, and that species who worked together as equals could accomplish things that no empire built on fear and oppression could ever achieve. The stars no longer belonged to conquerors. They belonged to everyone.